Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny B. I want to say welcome to all of you who are new to my channel. A shout out to everybody who is here because you heard about me from my colleague, my comrade, Patricia. She has her channel is Patricia1111 on YouTube, and she does tarot readings. So I had the pleasure of meeting her last week. And I know she's been talking about me on her videos. So I appreciate all of you who sent me emails in regard to what she had said about me, and all of you who have come here because you saw me. I know a lot of you commented that you were a new subscriber and you hadn't seen me before the last video that I did. So welcome to all of you. It's very nice to have you. And thank you so much to everybody who likes and shares and subscribes. When you subscribe, hit the notification bell for every channel. And I recommend doing that for everybody that you watch on YouTube, because they do have problems sending out notifications a lot of times. Right now, and this is interesting because Saturn is about to move into Aquarius, and Aquarius is what we look at for the internet. You can say Gemini too, but more Aquarius has to do with technology and like the global reach sort of scenario. So it's interesting that just before Saturn has reached Aquarius, which he will do on the 21st of March, we're getting a lot of people had censorship things happening. I had it with YouTube, and then I had it on Facebook, and I know a lot of people have had posts taken down by Facebook. That's because technology, Aquarius, Uranus, is ruling the day at those places because they've had to cut back on staff at YouTube and Facebook. YouTube sent out an email to all of us who are YouTube creators saying that, like, when they do something with one of your videos, you have to request a human review if you'd like to have that changed. And they sent out an email saying that there won't be as many human reviews. So I think that this is a little bit of a heads up to what we have coming once Saturn enters Aquarius. And of course, then after that, Pluto in a few years will also enter Aquarius. So we'll talk about more. We'll get to that as we go on, because that will surely be coming up. And so, yeah, I also want to mention quickly that a lot of you have watched my Emerald Fire meeting videos. They are free. There's no charge to watch those on Vimeo. And if you go back and watch the one that I did on 2222, I'm wearing, I believe, a pink sweater. So my Vimeo channel is in the description box below. And if you want to go and watch that meditation, I did not know at the time that we did that work that I was seeing the virus. But that was the healing that work that we did. All of the videos there's fabulous downloads from the Sophia Code by Kaya Ra in that video. And like I said, it's free to me. But if you'd like to do that for yourself, there's meditation healing work done with the chakras. And then also for the planet, it's an hour and 5 minutes long. So you could give that as a gift to yourself. I think it would be nice if all of us could do something to help, with healing the planet. But it's interesting because as we began the meditation, they stopped me from where, what I usually do. And they said, we're going to do it a little differently. And they didn't tell me what I was seeing. I just immediately went to Asia. I went to China, and I actually went back and looked at the video, and I didn't say it on the video. But I immediately went there and then saw patches of shadow going around the globe. So whatever you see, a lot of people that were, in the meeting with me that day had it manifests differently for them, and it will probably for you too. But yeah, if you'd like to take a look at that, I highly recommend it. I watched it yesterday and I did the downloads again, and I was like, these downloads are awesome. So yeah, if you want to take a look at that. And we will not be having the Congregation of the Emerald Fire meeting in April. And when we do resume the meetings, we're going to have a different name, and we're going to do it a completely different way. Because that's what I was instructed. I was going to say asked, and he said instructed. That's what I was instructed to do. So yeah, there won't be any Emerald Fire meeting this April. And I'll let you know when we're back up online, but you can always watch those meetings. They're always valid. So yeah. Anyway, and that's on Vimeo. It's in the description box below. So before we get into talking too much more about what's happening, I just want to draw this to your attention. So each of there are 360 degrees of the zodiac, and each one has an interpretation. They're called symbols, and there are different symbols. Sabian symbols are the most common. Metatron usually draws me to the Omega symbols. And so I thought, like, for those of you who are new to my channel and have heard of my healings, it's interesting because this is my North Node, well, the symbol that we're going to read, but we're reading it because it's where Neptune is and has been for a while now. And so this is, Neptune is the planet of the frequency of the Creator's pure unconditional love is represented in Neptune. It's where we're all one, where we're all a part of the Alpha and the Omega. It's our intuition, but it's really what makes us all complete, that we're all whole and complete, belonging to each other, that we're all a part of the Alpha and the Omega. We're all sparks of the light. Okay, so I want to just read this because this is where Neptune is right now, and it speaks a little bit to the upgrades that all of us are getting during this time. This degree emanates the energy of emotional healing, helping others to clear traumas and other heavy frequencies out of the astral body. So I believe that that's what is happening for the collective now, for anybody who is like, I'd like some help. It tends to do this with little conscious awareness of what it is doing, but the result is helping others to become more in touch with their inner self in a soft, gentle manner, which brings renewal and reconnection with the light of spirit. The Chandra symbol for this degree is palm trees laden with dates. Here is immense sweetness and rich nourishment flourishing in the desert. This degree carries within itself a wondrous balance that manifests in many different forms. Intuitive insight, understanding, compassion, and the ability to uplift others being a few of them. All this degree needs to do is to distribute these gifts, to not repress them or question their value, but simply to share what the spiritual light has provided. So that's what's happening with all of us. You can see, like, we're all, of course, becoming more compassionate, more understanding. We're paying attention to what's going on to the people around us. That's why so many of us have self-isolated. Is not so much because we're worried about the risk to our health, but the risk to other people's health. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I don't want us to lose sight of what we're gaining, is what Metatron is saying, what we're gaining through going through this experience. We're releasing things from the astral body. We're coming into gifts of sweetness and richness and light. And we're learning a new way of being. What he was saying before I started recording this, a brave new world is what we're in right now. A brave new world. So, all right. And now we're going to talk about, because tomorrow is the equinox, and I was going to do two different videos, but they're so close together, and they do have a little bit different things to say. But I wanted to point out that Pluto and Saturn. Pluto is going to move to 25 degrees of Capricorn, and then he's going to begin moving back. Saturn is began his shadow at that degree, and now is moving forward. And once he goes retrograde, he's going to move back to that degree. That is a very important degree right now, the 25th degree of Capricorn. And when I pulled the chart for universal time of the equinox, the ascendant is that degree of Capricorn. And with degrees, when it's 24 degrees and however 18 minutes, we go to 25 degrees. So, but that 24, 25 degrees of Capricorn is really important. That, 23, 24, 25, you could say, because they came together at 23 degrees. Now, I mean, Pluto and Saturn came together at that 23 degrees. Now, if you have it doesn't matter what the sign is, if you have planets at that degree, or, give or take, you could go 4 before, 4 after kind of thing. And you just sort of have to feel that intuitively, depending on what placement it is. But that is being activated and woken up. It's like, wake up, something's happening. Then that is different for every single one of us. And we're still in that tower energy, obviously, because all of us are having to change something about our lives. I don't care even if you live alone, you've had to alter your life a little bit because of what we're experiencing collectively. Pluto is the dark night of the soul experience. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes, but first come the ashes. And we've been talking about, all of the astrologers have been talking about the shifts and the changes that we're going to see in infrastructure, in government, in the institutions that rule us, in banking. Even now we're seeing it with technologies. As Saturn is at that very last degree of Capricorn and getting ready to move into Aquarius on the 21st. We have had a lot of people I see posted over and over on Facebook that we're experiencing censorship because we've got the robots running the show, because there's not as many people working at YouTube or Facebook. They've both acknowledged that they've had to cut back on staff. And so we're already seeing, Saturn stops. It brings limitations. It makes things end. It restricts. And when he's moving into Aquarius, which is technology, the internet, and the larger community of all of us together on the internet or Facebook, let's say, we obviously are going to be experiencing restrictions there. So that's a little bit of a heads up, because he's not even in Aquarius yet. And, he's the ancient ruler of Aquarius, the traditional ruler of Aquarius. Before Uranus was discovered, it was Saturn. So Saturn and Uranus then will be working in Aquarius together. Remember that Uranus, who likes quick change and sudden movement, is in Taurus, where it's about taking things slowly. The goddess, do pleasure. And I always talk about the cow chewing its cud. That's Taurian energy. And when Uranus is there, he does not like being there. That's his least favorite place to be, because he feels like he can't break free. He can't break out. And so we may be experiencing technology glitches, things coming up with that, as Saturn moves into Aquarius. Now, he moves in on the 21st of March, and then at the end of July, he's going to, let me just double check that. Yeah, end of July until December 20th, he's going to go back into Capricorn. So if we're talking about all of this coming up as a result of that Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and I believe obviously that plays a huge role in it, then expect that something as Saturn moves back there until December 20th, then we may see it wrap up completely. We don't know exactly how this is going to play out, and you can't look at the astrology and say, oh, it's going to end this day. It doesn't work like that. And remember, and this is what I think has been the most upsetting to me, is how many people don't believe that they're creating their reality. If we believe that we're creating our reality, then we don't feed into fear or suppose that someone's just, this is all a ruse to take away our free will. That's just sort of like a common fear that's out there. But we all came as star seeds. Everyone on the planet came here from different light systems. to have this experience of free will. We're not going to lose free will. That's a fear, a myth is what Metatron is calling it, a myth, that anything would ever come along to disrupt free will choice. That's a God-given birthright, and that's not going to, no one is ever going to be able to do that. Something would happen that would hinder that from taking place. So I just wanted to put that out there. But when we're talking about, Saturn going back into Capricorn, then we may see this story wrap up. What I was shown, and this can change, is that it may come back again like 5-6 years from now, and then it may reappear about a decade from now for the final like hurrah. Because you know how, viruses can mutate. It's also linked to viruses, because I teach intuitive anatomy, is worthiness issues. So, keep saying, like, I say your name. So I would say, I, Jennifer Burak, acknowledge that I'm worthy and deserving of good health and living in perfect health. Living in perfect harmony with my body. My physical body is at it's the peak of health. Just keep, if you are worried that, if you're in that group that, could be susceptible to this virus, then I would keep repeating those affirmations and putting something positive out there in relation to that. But I believe that when Mars, and I'm talking about this because it relates to the equinox, when Mars rose, when a planet makes an appearance above the horizon, because they disappear and we don't see them, and then they come back again. And Metatron went over with me in October that Mars was rising in Corvus, which is the black raven or the black crow. It's located in the tropical zodiac. It's Libra. So I kept saying, what? And you can go back. I went back and looked at the video because I put the raven on the Samhain video that I made. And that's because he was talking to me about Mars rising from Corvus. I believe that is when, this was in late October, I believe that that's when the virus came up, came to be. I just heard when there was human contamination, he said. I believe that that's when that began. Mars rules pestilence, so the locust. Mars rules viruses, any kind of bug. Mars rules epidemics. Mars could be a pretty bad guy. And he was, out of bounds when it seemed to really explode all over the place, all over the planet. And now Mars is going through Capricorn, which is his sign of exaltation. And he is hitting all of the planets that were involved in the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, Jupiter being there. He's ticking off these energies all over again. And so he gets to his degree of exaltation on the 28th of March. That's 28 degrees of Capricorn. Then I see that what I was seeing was that he sort of like loses almost like motivation. I don't feel like he's in his like height of power. And then he comes up and hits Saturn on the 31st of March. And that always will slow him down a bit. And now then he's going to be an air. So it's fire and air. So we'll see, what happens then. I would be surprised if at that time there's still a lot of air travel happening. I wouldn't recommend it. But I'm guessing that once he comes to Saturn, that there may be some sort of relief. Who knows? That's, in technology being Aquarius territory, it could be that's when a vaccine or something comes up to, help with the virus. So I just want to show you this chart, that 25th degree of Capricorn, where, where Pluto and Saturn are both It's involved in their retrogrades. It's on the ascended for the universal time of the equinox that we have coming. And so I want to read that degree symbol to you as well. This degree innately realizes that sometimes it needs to completely let go of an old way of being and be born anew. So we talked about with the Mercury retrograde, that Mercury went retrograde at the 28th degree of Aquarius. That relates to transformation. And now we see this degree as well that's involved in so many of the things that are happening right now, is about, once again, releasing the old and being born anew. This process of dying to the old and being born may have to happen multiple times until the final clearing of the old occurs. So that's, I think, another heads up to what we have coming up. And the Omega symbol is about a woman being wrapped like a butterfly. So again, we're in the chrysalis. You know, when Metatron was talking about at the beginning of this year to me was the dark night, K-N-I-G-H-T, the dark night of the soul, and how we see the best of humanity coming forward at this time, as well as the lower. And it's always coming from fear. I don't think that people hate other people and that's why they go out and empty all of the shelves. I think that it's just fear that they're going to run out. So try to just have grace for people in that way. You know, they're doing the best that they can in coping with these things as well, and they don't have the same tools that we have. So let's take a look then. So this is the chart for the equinox, and this is the chart for universal time. So we have Jupiter and Pluto. They'll be coming together to meet. This chart is from the 20th for most of the world. It's the 19th in the United States, the equinox. But for on April 5th, Jupiter and Pluto are going to come into a perfect alignment. But you're feeling that now, because Jupiter is big, and whatever he touches in the sky, whatever he's closest to, he exacerbates that energy. He magnifies it. And Pluto is death and transformation. So we're all worldwide, you know, going through this Saturn-Pluto transit, or, you know, it's like we're having a worldwide Pluto transit. And Jupiter is going to amplify that energy. And so, you know, and with Mars ticking off all of this energy as well, at least through the end of March, just know that that's what we're in, a really raucous energy right now. And also fluid, changing. I wanted to point out that if you look at the sun down there, moving right, you see the sun with the circle with the dot in the middle, and then you see underneath the sun the word saint. That is the asteroid Saint Michael. So I love it that as the sun comes into Aries, and we have, springtime for us in the northern hemisphere, and obviously autumn in the southern hemisphere, but Michael is right there. I love that so much. He's right at the same degree. And then, you know, the sun is going to come up and meet this Chiron and Black Moon Lilith. And Chiron and Black Moon Lilith are part of the energy of this virus that we were talking about. You know, Black Moon Lilith, wherever she is, yes, she shows how we are assertive and we, you know, assert ourselves and we show our independence. But where Lilith falls in your chart, there needs to be a healing done. You know, that's not like such a kind energy. And we're also in the midst of these Aries-Pluto squares. The Aries-Pluto, you know, that 90-degree angle where it's the divine feminine, who, the goddess of discord, of mayhem. She does whatever she has to do to get change going, whatever it takes. And Pluto, death and destruction, you know, those two are squaring. Began last year in 2019, and it won't finish until the end of 2021. So I believe that we're just moving into a new way of being now. We're going to make adjustments. And what I'm going to talk about in the newsletter, but I'll mention it, is that when Saturn and Pluto came together 500 years ago for the Reformation of the Church, they were on a fixed star called Polis, which relates to religious leadership. This time, they came together at Peacock. And so it's really about all of us, and not like tomorrow, but what we're moving into, and humanity is moving into this period where everybody has their own unique gifts. And he's talking about like recognizing that how special each of us are, and that we have something to share, and a reason he's saying to have attention called to ourselves, and to recognize that we're worthy of people coming to us for, he's saying, our exquisite gift. And so that's what we're moving toward. Now that's a 500-year cycle, 450, 500-year cycle. So that's what we're moving into, okay? So that's what the goal is. That's where we're going, is coming to a place when everybody recognizes that they have something unique and special to bring to the table. And I think that that's why this is playing out in the way that it is. But don't worry that, that's going to be tomorrow. Now, I want to just touch on the fact that in this house this is again the Equinox chart, the third house, which is the Gemini house. It's about mercantile exchange, revenue, and the way that money moves. You see Venus there with Uranus. Venus is money. With Uranus, that is like change and upheaval and something changing. And then you see how that Jupiter, you see Pluto and Jupiter in that trine there with her. So I feel like, because next month then Venus, let me look at the dates, because I want to give you guys the dates. I want to mention first that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that I'm talking about, it's going to happen April 5th, and then it will happen again in June and November. Okay, so I mean, that's sort of, those are big boys, and they're not going to get that far away from each other. So we're sort of in that energy too. I mean, there's so much Pluto out there right now. And then Venus is going to move into Gemini on the 4th of April. She will go retrograde on May 13th. So she's moving into Gemini. Gemini rules the markets, and Venus is money and value. Now, Venus in Gemini is a great time to, I was going to say take a dance class, but you can't do that most places. But hey, you can turn on a video. I bet on YouTube they have dance class instruction. But yeah, like if you can do anything to play, Venus wants to play when she's in Gemini. So that will be April 4th, and then she moves retrograde on May 13th. On June 2nd, June 25th, she moves direct, and she doesn't clear her shadow until July 29th. So she is in Gemini a very long time. Just, if you have money in the stock market or whatever, and he's saying like, even if you don't, just trusting that everything is going to work out for the best. There will probably be a lot of volatility and a lot of fluctuation when that is happening. Mars, then, I'm kind of just filling you guys in for what we're looking at the rest of this year. Mars in Aries he's going to come into Aries at the end of June. And then he's going to come to the anaretic degree, the last degree of Aries, on September 10th, and then he's going to move back. Mars is going to he'll move back, and then he'll move direct middle of November. He will not clear his shadow until January 3rd. And in the fall, we're going to have the super new moons. So we've been having, full moons are always about releasing and ending, and we've been having super full moons that goes on till May. And then in the fall, in September, we're going to begin having super new moon. So the moon being really close. And then, that's like a fresher energy, not endings as much as new beginnings. And that's just the way that I was shown because of these retrogrades, the Mars and Venus retrograde, and then what Saturn is doing and going back into Capricorn, that we're not in an energy of like, let's rush out there and grab the world by the gonads and get it done. That's just not the energy that we're in right now, even though we're talking about an Aries new moon. And I want to show you why. So this is the chart for the Aries new moon. And you see Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Mars, Pallas Athena, and Gabriel all there in the 8th house, which is the Scorpio house in Capricorn. You can see that the sun and the moon at the top of the chart there are in Aries with Chiron and Black Moon Lilith. They're all making up the energy of the new moon. So we're talking about some sort of a healing in relation to value, to worth, to wealth, and banking. Okay? And that new moon is governed, obviously, because it's in Aries, it's governed by Mars. And Mars is at the 25th degree of Capricorn, which is about releasing the past and closing the door, closing the book on the past, and starting a new chapter. And moving into what Metatron is talking about, a brave new world. We are at a reset point right now. And you can see that through, so many of the things happening in the astrology are about new cycles beginning. Some cycles that have been going on for hundreds of years. We're moving into an energy of where we've been in a time, well, now we're moving forward into air and fire, into a long period of time where we're looking at air and fire. And that's, a whole lot of combustion, it's a lot of energy. And so we're moving into something new now and really releasing the old way of looking at things, period. I want to mention, for those of you who are stuck at home, that, and not just for everyone who's stuck at home, when the universe brings things to a halt and says, stay home, go within. There's a reason why that's happening. Nothing as above, so below. There's no coincidences. It's a time really for us to be checking in with ourselves and kind of, doing, Metatron is saying, a status update. Deciding, like, am I happy with where I'm going? Or do I want to try a new adventure? The new moon in Aries. Mars is also about determination, focus, strategy, following through with getting to the goal and following through with the plan. So this is a great time to be like thinking of different ways that you could do things. We've got all these new moons, this one as well, aspects Uranus, which is about change, something new, something different. So, I'm saying, when I'm talking about like grabbing the world by the gonads and rushing out, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have anything new come about. Obviously, we don't stagnate, we change and we move forward. But it just may look a little bit different than what you had planned on originally. So, what else do I want to say about that, Metatron? Oh, he wanted me to talk about Chiron. Chiron is, the wounded healer. Some people call it the wound that never heals. I think of it as the I am presence within us. And when we're looking at a new moon happening right there with Chiron, it's really a good time to begin to recognize and the subconscious aspects of ourselves, like teaching those aspects of ourselves, that God is in everything. Even if, a lot of people see God as like, as a child, I saw God with like the gray long beard and the robe. And some people still do, and that's okay. The only time that it's an issue is if we see God in whatever way we see God as a flower. But if we feel we want to feel like a warm embrace from a loving father when we think of God or when we see God. And when we don't, it's because there's still a wound that isn't healed. Everything around us is carrying that frequency of the Creator's pure unconditional love, that vibration of pure love that comprises everything that there is. And so that energy is always radiating to us, that energy of pure love, always. And if we're feeling something different, then it's because there's a wound there that isn't allowing us to absorb the love that's coming to us from everything around us. There's some insecurity, there's something that needs to be loved and recognize that it's worthy and that it's safe to feel loved. And I know in these volatile times, it isn't so easy to come to that sense of feeling safe within ourselves. But that's what we're meant to be looking at right now with our North Node in Cancer. That North Node in Cancer, there just below the Ascendant, you see there, the North Node in Cancer and the South Node in Capricorn are going to be in an aspect of what's called a square. Again, an energy of tension, but the most powerful aspect that there is. This new moon is going to be squaring them. So really everybody is going to be releasing something from the past. Something from the past is going to go and something new is going to come in. Something that brings you to that sense of security, because that's where the North Node is in Cancer. And really, this is a period of time, and I spoke about this in the End of Corruption video, when we're recognizing that the government can't always be counted on. We've had that here where we turned down tests. Testing that was available to us was turned down. And so, when my grandmother, 94 years old, went to the doctor with symptoms, she was not tested. Because where she is, there probably aren't any tests. And so, we're seeing the systems failing. Okay, we can see all of the glaring holes in the system. And that can make us feel like what's going on, like all of the things that I've counted on are falling apart. Am I still secure? And Metatron had me post a few months ago, I think it's on the community tab, yes. If the world falls apart tomorrow, don't worry. You will still continue. Even if our way of life that we've been used to up to this point is going through a great change. And we're going to be moving to more like looking to self and doing self-sustaining work. We don't need to feel as if we have no security. Our security and our trust, that again, that Neptune in Pisces, faith, hope, trust, and believing that you're releasing things from the astral body. You're being given benefits and upgrades. And he's talking about like a vibration that can withstand the changes that are going on. I think that really we're going to be surprised at the way that things change during in this coming year, maybe next year too, but for sure in this year. Now I do see that it goes on through next year. I don't mean the virus. I'm talking about the change that comes as a result. We've all been asking for change. I mean, I know I've said many times, I just want something to happen. Something needs to happen. And it's happening. So, just remember to, that, being at home, you're surrounded by everything that you love, hopefully. Appreciating all of the love that you have around you, the comforts of your home, being grateful that we have those, really being grateful every day for our health, for those of us who are in good health, and recognizing he's saying the best of humanity that's being shown a lot more than the lower side of humanity right now. And on that note, I'm going to read, this was a comment left on the New York Times post on Facebook. And the story was about the doctors in Italy. There was a quote from one of the doctors saying that they're just treating it as if they're in a war zone and choosing like which patients need the most help. So that was it's in the New York Times if you want to look up that article. But this comment was made by Najat Hamza, and he's in Minnesota. And it says, it's to the people in Italy. Your grief is our grief. I am so sorry you are facing this, but I want to assure you we are all in this together. We are sending you love, comfort, and prayers to ease your pains. We can all do what we can to help each other in any way we can. My friends and I put ourselves down to serve the elderly in our community as volunteers. We go and run errands for them so they can stay inside. We truly are each other's keepers because right now we have no borders, no political differences, or any other superficial issues. We are just the human race trying to beat this disease. So check on the vulnerable, your neighbors, and do what you can. We will overcome this. We are more resilient than we realize. And I thought that was so sweet. You know, I can tell from his picture that he practices a different religion than I think a lot of people in Italy. And I just really found that, I know there are so many memes going around. Some of you have shared them with me. I've seen them floating around. There's a lot of encouraging memes going around. But really, if you can do whatever you can do, giving money to the food pantry or a small donation, anything that you can do to help somebody out right now. You know, everybody whose wage is based on tips, they don't have any way to make that up right now. So we really, you know, want to stay in a place where we're not getting caught up in the martyrdom aspect of being empathetic. You know, you can be empathetic, and really, unless you're a sociopath, you have empathy. But we want to make sure that we're, you know, not like sacrificing ourselves, but just, you know, giving to others as we can, and trying to fill in the gap where we can. And that's another reason why I liked that Vimeo choice, the Congregation of the Emerald Fire choice, is because we talk about, you know, those who have wealth being able to donate money. So anyway, everyone, I'm sending you so much love and courage. And Metatron is talking about like summoning the courage. He's saying that it is innate within you to be courageous, and that we incarnated and became humans so that we could experience the adventure of being in the role that you chose to be in. And so anyway, everybody, I'm sending all of you so much love, and I will be back next week. I want to try to be on as often as I can. Obviously, I've had changes in my household to contend with as well, but I'd like to be back I'm going to be back as soon as I possibly can. So everybody, I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much to all of you who took time to tune in today. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.